but it's also a really nice bike to just cruise around on, which is kind of unusual for a bike with this configuration. So this is my Triumph Thruxton, the 1200 RS, and it's about time I made a video about it, because this is my daily ride, my pride and joy. It's a little dusty, but this is the bike I've chosen to be the machine I get around Los Angeles on. And the reason I got this bike was because I have one in London. It's a fantastic machine. And I had one previously. Some of you might remember the bike, which I kind of ruined by putting 16-inch rims and fat tires on, but it looked amazing. But I realized pretty quickly from my riding in London that this was the perfect Los Angeles motorcycle. You can take it up into the crest, ride curvy roads in the mountains, you can cruise around town, you can take it to a track day. It's pretty much an everyman, do-it-all motorcycle, and it's cafe racer style, which I love. That's definitely my roots. When this motorcycle first came out at the end of 2015 into 2016, and Triumph did the launch of the new Bonneville range at Bike Shed, they really created a bike that I think is already an icon, and now reflected by the fact that the bike's just been discontinued. So next year's bike is the last of the Thruxtons, and I think it's going to elevate it to iconic status straight away. It does remind me of the Ducati Sport Classic 1000. I have a couple of those. I don't have some great collection of awesome motorcycles, but they're bikes you can't sell. And I have the Paul Smart limited edition, which has got the beautiful silver dolphin fairing on it, the silver bodywork, and the kind of aquamarine sort of metal flake frame. And when Triumph came out with this bike, especially when they did it in the silver livery, my thought was outsmarted. They outdid the Paul Smart version, because they created something that actually, from a design point of view, is maybe aesthetically better proportioned, more pleasing, in a more modern motorcycle, which is still a twin, obviously a completely different configuration from the Ducati L twin, but the Triumph parallel twin with a lot of power, a lot of torque, and a very, very usable motorcycle that you can ride every day. Whereas with my Ducati Sport Classic, if you ride them every day, they don't blow up. But if you give them a long rest and then ride them, you might want to change the oil and check the belt tension. It was always a bike I was scared to ride, whereas this really is a daily rider. So it's kind of my third one, and I absolutely love it. The other thing about this bike that's kind of unusual is it's a bike that's really difficult to modify much, because they got it right. They designed a bike that looks pretty amazing. If you look at the standard bike, obviously it has the big fender on here and the big fat red lights and the big corn on the cob indicators. You take that off, replace it with a little LED tail tidy. I've got the one from New Age Cycles here, and you're kind of done. There's not a lot to do to this bike aesthetically to make it look absolutely perfect. And for me, the design of it is kind of like an Aston Martin. It's timeless. I mean, I can't help feeling like in 10 years' time, this bike will still look cool, relevant, beautiful. It looks like it's going fast when it's standing still. And I think they've really created something that's pretty special, and probably the last of the great naturally aspirated cafe racers with a proper internal combustion engine that makes noise. Because from here on in, I think European compliance and the way the world is going, it's going to be incredibly difficult to build motorcycles like this in the future. There's a lot of debate about why they've discontinued the bike. I think a lot of it is perhaps to do with bringing out bikes like the Speed Twin, which are effectively one of these with handlebars, which was actually what I did to my 2016 model, was to put normal handlebars on it. And so they have a lot of internal model competition, and more, if people want that Steve McQueen look, you know, they're going to be buying, you know, a T120 or a T100. And then if they want a bit of speed, they're going to be buying the Speed Twin, and which is an absolutely fantastic motorcycle, but it doesn't have this styling. So I think it's an incredible machine. I think it's an icon. I think it's very, very sad that Triumph have discontinued it. What it means is I won't be able to sell either of mine, and I absolutely predict that they start going up in value. Once the last models have left the dealers, these are going to hang on to their price. And also, having owned, this being my three of these, they're pretty bulletproof. I mean, I've done track days. I've really brutally crucified these bikes on horrible bumpy roads in London and Los Angeles. They're bulletproof machines. They're over-engineered. They're really well made. And the way they deliver power is intoxicating. I think it's 110 Newton meters of torque at 4,200 RPM or something. It's a huge amount of torque on a motorcycle. And it means you can go to Brands Hatch and just ride around in third gear and not even change gear. And you'll be surprising a lot of people in the corners. So it's a very, very easy bike to ride. And it kind of, it goes where you look. It's one of those bikes that's benefited from modern design, where bikes like this were built with computer-aided design and modeling before they ever got turned into real metal. And they knew that they were making a bike with the right trail, the right wheelbase, the right sort of weight distribution to just go around corners and do exactly what it's supposed to do. So it's a very flattering bike. It's very easy to ride quickly and make rapid progress. But it's also a really nice bike to just cruise around on, which is kind of unusual for a bike with this configuration. So obviously I've messed around with it. I've already talked about the New Rage Cycles Tail Tidy, which is pretty much a plug and play solution. Because this is the RS, I had to mess around a little bit with a few spacers because it's a little bit different under here than it is from the R. So it wasn't a direct fit, and I sent some info to the guys at New Rage Cycles for them to make modifications over where some of the screw holes go. So hopefully the new versions of the Tail Tidy for this bike, for the RS, will take that into account. Change the battery for a lithium-ion battery. That's really about weight loss as much as anything. This also has a DNA air filter and a DNK tune in there, so it's been remapped. And it's been remapped not to just take advantage of the air filter, but also the thing that really makes this bike fantastic is this beautiful Hitchcock's full system exhaust pipe. It is absolutely fantastic. I've sort of worked with a lot of companies over the years fitting exhaust pipes onto bikes. I didn't fit this one. It was done by Kevin at Moto Chop Shop, who specializes in the modern Triumphs and the modern classics. And he said that the fit and the quality of build was absolutely superb. It was incredibly easy to put on the bike, and it was one of the best built exhaust pipes that he'd ever fitted to anything. And a lot of his customers want this pipe, and they do it for the other Triumph models as well, and I think for some other manufacturers. But this is a beautiful thing. And having the bike tuned for the pipe really makes a big difference. The Thruxton I've got in London is also an RS. It's got Scorpion headers on it and Cone Engineering end cans. Both of them delete the cat and sort of lose a huge amount of weight. But this one feels so much better. The difference in how it rides from having a proper tune done is really, really quite notable. And when I get back to London, I'm going to have to deal with that. Clearly, my London bike needs a proper tune. So, small things. Remy at Bark helped me with some stuff. We just kind of mucked around with levers and kind of making the lens yellow. When you lane split in LA, having a yellow lens really helps people see that it's a motorcycle and not just one other light that might be half of a car. So a few little kind of cosmetic things. I really want to change the mirrors. I put barrel grips on this. As you can see, I've fitted a quad lock purely because I'm somebody that likes to stick my phone on my bike and use it for navigation. I had to get a hollowed out stem nut, and I'm trying to remember where that came from. It may have been Analog Cycles, but if I've got that wrong, my apologies to the manufacturer. Quite a few people do them, but it just means that I can mount it right in the middle with the least amount of interference to the bars. We've got these ASV levers here, which are just a nicer shape and they're more adjustable. I like to get the biting point and the braking point right on my bikes, and these have better adjustment than the OEM levers. These mirrors are okay, but I am going to get rid of them. I'm probably going to get some CRG lane splitters, because much as mirrors are essential items on motorcycles, especially when you ride in LA, there are a lot of rear enders happen when you stop at the lights and people are texting on their mobile phone and they run into the back of motorcycles all the time. So you want to know who's behind you. But aesthetically, I don't love mirrors on a motorcycle, and the lane splitters fold in and they fold flat when you're not using them. So I'll probably fit those. If I can get hold of a black screen from the TFC Thruxton, I'll fit that, and I'll change these little nuts here for some black anodized items. But what else do you do? It's already got Brembo radial brakes, it's already got fantastic show of big piston forks, it's got Öhlins on the rear. There is one debated subject that I've been thinking about, is I do like the cast wheels on the newer version of the Speed Twin, and if I could find somebody that wanted to do a swap and have wire spoke wheels on their Speed Twin and then I could have the cast wheels on my Thruxton, I'd paint them gold, metallic gold. I think that would look really good, and because they're a very delicate Y-spoke, they still have the feeling of wire spoke wheels. Then I could run full tubeless tyres. I'd lose a little bit of unsprung weight. They'd turn in a little bit faster. So that would be a gratuitous mod I really don't need to make, and I'll probably only do it if somebody wants to do a wheel swap. It's got indicators from analog on the front, and on the back, the New Rage Cycles tail tidy actually has the indicators built into the stop lights. So it's really, there's not loads that I can do to this bike now because it's just gorgeous. But I am going to do some more messing around. I do like the old school kind of Triton look and what Norton did when they had the raw metal fuel tanks. So Remy at Bark has been mucking around with some of his builds, and he's taken a few bikes back to the metal and had a brushed stainless finish. I think this could look really good with a brushed stainless finish on it. And also when you have a black motorcycle in the hot sun, it gets really, really hot. So I think maybe having a sort of stainless tank could look really good, and then I'm not sure quite how we'll deal with logos and things, but that's definitely something I want to do, but it's just cosmetic. I'll probably get the seat recovered, but there's absolutely nothing wrong with this one. It does the job really well. It's comfortable, it's supportive, it's a beautiful shape. I like the fact that it looks good with the cowl on the back. And then the only other thing I might want to do is muck around with a few badges. We had some bike shed ones of these made in London, and I'd like to get one of those for here. And then I might put matte black side covers on and kind of change what it says on there for a bit of fun. The one that I did in 2016 had Hoxton written on it, but that one was quite heavily modified. Other than that, it is just a fantastic machine. I love riding it, and probably the biggest adjustment I need to make is to get out on it more and do more riding, because this bike really, really deserves to be ridden. If you're out there and you already own a Triumph Thruxton, you know what I'm talking about. It's about to turn into a cult motorcycle. If you haven't got one and you think you might want one, buy one now before prices go up. I really think it's a very special thing. I absolutely love it. Clearly, I've bought 3 of the things, and it's definitely the bike that suits me, certainly in this city. And as I progress with other elements of the build, we'll get those documented. So thanks for watching. If you like what we do, don't forget to like, follow and subscribe to Bike Ched's YouTube channel. We have a lot of surprises on here that you might not know about. So please do cruise around and look at some of the stuff we've been doing over the last 5 years or so.